and you don't repair it, and somebody is injured as a result of walking over your bridge, which is in a dangerous condition, they would have a right to sue you over the maintenance of your bridge and the injury they've received. And the king cannot remove that right from the person who is injured to sue for damages. He does not have that authority. Well, of course, in the Bill of Rights of 1689, they then removed the ability of the king to give any dispensing power. So when we get people who are, for example, hardened criminals, and they get caught for something particularly unpleasant, and they say to the policeman, well look, I could give you X, Y and Z men, but I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want to go to court. And they push that up to the Crown Prosecution Service and to the lawyers, and the lawyers look at it and they say, yeah, that's worth it, and they let him off. They're giving him a dispensation, aren't they? He's committed the crime, it's affected other people, and they're giving him a dispensation, and that is illegal. It is illegal, pure and simple. Not only is it illegal, it's illegal under the Bill of Rights, a major constitutional law. Anyway, so we've chased James II has fled the country, and they've invited William over, and William has come over, and he has been asked to take on the administration of England. Now, William was not entitled to do that. He was Dutch. But he was married to James's daughter Mary. And the next one in line to the crown would have been Mary, but Mary would not be over her husband. Wouldn't that be nice, eh? Eh? If we had a wife who said, okay dear, whatever you say. Right? I can see the boys all agree with me. And William would not be a servant of his wife's. And so basically, they agreed that they would offer them both the throne. But William despised the English. And because he despised the English, he removed an awful lot of people from good jobs in the civil service and in the military and replaced them with Dutchmen. So the politicians, who were all out of work because James had dissolved Parliament, so they weren't parliamentarians anymore, they were politicians and they were out of work. And they, in fact, didn't know what to do about this, and they were thinking, well, we've got one bad king, looks like we've inherited another one. What are we going to do? So they went along and they had a chat with the aldermen of the City of London and 50 of the Common Council of the City of London. And William heard about this, and he did something which I thought was rather wonderful. He actually said, don't restrict it to that group of people, send a writ to every borough in England and ask them to send somebody to represent them to tell us all how the English wish to be ruled. What can we do with some of that today? And the boroughs sent people, and they had a convention. It wasn't a parliament, although Parliament today will tell you it was the convention parliament, but it wasn't, because only a king can call a parliament, and William wasn't the king, and Mary wasn't the queen. James was the king, he was languishing in France, and he had no desire or interest in calling a parliament over here. So it was a convention between the representatives of the people, the out-of-work politicians, the members of the House of Lords, who you can't put out of work because they're all hereditary, and the aldermen and 50 of the Common Council of the City of London. So it's much bigger than any parliament we'd ever had. And they sat down and they drew up the Declaration of Rights, which were the minimum rights and freedoms by which we would be prepared to live, and were in fact taken from Alfred's law. I.e., you cannot be placed in prison unless you've been found guilty of an offence in a court of law. You cannot be fined or suffer any forfeiture unless you have been found guilty of an offence in a court of law. It goes directly back to Alfred. And basically, a lot of good, sensible things like that. The king can't keep a standing army without the approval of Parliament. All these things were done. And William and Mary were shown this, and they were told, if you want the crown of England, you can have it, but you have to accept these terms and conditions. So, what he did was he accepted them. But he accepted them because we had him in a serious arm lock. Because William was having a fight with the French and the Portuguese, and he was losing. And he wanted our army and our navy to go out and sort out the French and the Portuguese, because we just don't lose to mainland Europe. We simply don't do it. And basically, he would have agreed to anything to get control of our armed forces. So he said yes. But having said yes, he said, I'm going to call a parliament. Because he was now king. He was joint king with Mary, who was jointly queen with him. But he had the administration, and she just languished around in the palace doing what queens with nothing to do really. And he said, I'm going to call a parliament. But we're not going to have an election for parliament because I've already got the representatives of the people here. I'll use them as my parliament. So all of the politicians who'd been dissolved by James were, bye fellas, away you go. And all of the representatives of the people were made into politicians. And the first thing they did was they put the Declaration of Rights into law as the Bill of Rights, and they put 2 codicils on it. This bill cannot be amended after the 23rd of September 1689. Any amendments after that date are void and not lawful. And this bill is for all time. Now we're all told, aren't we, from this high in school, that no parliament can bind another parliament. So how could this particular parliament bind every parliament in this country for eternity to accepting the law laid down in the Bill of Rights? How can they do it? Well, they can do it because they weren't sent there as politicians. They were sent there as the representatives of the people. And when they were made into politicians and given the job in Parliament, they were actually still the representatives of the people. That's what they'd been sent there from their little house in Kent or in Bradford or wherever it happened to be they'd come from. They were still the representatives of the people. And the will of the people in this country is supreme over Parliament and over the sovereign. So when they put the codicils in, it wasn't a Parliament making that. That was the people's representatives saying it. That this law is the law forever and a day. Yeah? And it's a very, very good law. I'd advise any of you to download it. You can Google it. The Bill of Rights of 1689 or the Declaration of Rights 1688. Google them, read them. It's very, very sensible law. Now, that's brought us fairly well up to date. That's the constitutional law of this country. But Parliament are breaking the law. The King can't do it because the King is beneath the law. So the King can't break the law, so Queen Elizabeth can't break the law because she is beneath the law. And everything Parliament do is done in the name of Queen Elizabeth, isn't it? Everything. They want to get taxes. You get a little thing from the Inland Revenue. What do you got on the top of the paper? There's a crown. Join the army, there's a crown on it. Join the police force, there's a crown on it. Everything from central government has a crown on it because they are working on behalf of the crown.
Sorry, Albert, is the crown separate from the monarchy?
Well, yeah, absolutely the crown is separate from the monarchy. The crown is the office, the monarch is the holder of the office.
I thought the crown was like the law.
No. The crown is the office of king. Right? The crown stays there forever. It is immovable. The office is there forever. It's immovable. But kings come and kings go. They either die of old age or we take their heads off.